I can't believe I'm never gonna speak to you again.
Hey guys, in a few days I'm going to be a guest on a live recording of the Piecing It Together podcast here in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, where we'll be discussing the latest display of Deadite decadence, Evil Dead Rise.
You don't look so good, Mom.
Am I too casual right now? Is that a thing? I should just move these out of the way. Evil Dead Rise, the film that dares ask the question, but what if in an apartment building?
The Book of the Dead.
For the podcast, I'm going to need to come up with some influences or similarities that I can use as my puzzle pieces. If you're confused, go listen to the podcast. Link in the description. It's great. And I'm not your mother. I'm not going to describe podcasts to you. Come on.
You'd be a good mom someday, Honeybah.
So anyway, I decided to do things the proper way, by cheating. So let's talk about the films that led to Evil Dead Rise. Led to Dead. First up, the Evil Dead franchise. Obviously. When asked about where his love of filmmaking came from, director Lee Cronin had this to say. There were he's Irish.
Obviously, off the back of something like this, you get that little bit of heat. So,
Can I do an Irish accent? There are a few different... My Blarney Stone.
Here we go. Here's a brand new one, you know.
I'm not going to do the accent. There were a few definitive viewing moments before I was 10 years old that really dug their claws into me and set me down the pathway I followed. All of these moments were from suspense and horror movies. Ben Gardner's Deadhead reveal in Jaws, the Bath Hag in The Shining, and countless moments from Evil Dead 2. I got eyeballs on all this stuff way before it was age appropriate. Being the youngest sibling in my family by almost a decade meant I used to watch these kind of movies with my older siblings and watch their reactions, their fear, their joy. I think I fell in love with the idea of trying to show off and freak out my family. I think that's what I'm still trying to do. Oh, and RoboCop. Sometimes I forget how much I love RoboCop. Alright, so first of all, gotta love a director who loves the greatest film ever made. Secondly, in a separate interview, Lee even says that he was 9 years old when he saw the first two Evil Dead films.
my dad showed them to me on VHS, the 1 and 2 back to back.
I can only hope to be as good a parent as his mom and dad. So while yes, obviously an Evil Dead movie is going to be influenced by Evil Dead, these stories of childhood ventures into gory goodness bode well for Evil Dead Rise. Not only does Lee seem to have a firm grasp on the borderline Looney Tunes use of violence that was a tiny bit more grounded and cruel in the 2013 remake, while still remaining as grimy and fucked up as that Fede Alvarez joint, but he also has a fan's love of the material. Now that could go awry. After all, Easter eggs are the bane of my existence, but we know already that the chainsaw in the film is color matched to a certain Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royale, that there's a Henrietta's Pizza in reference to a Deadite from Evil Dead 2, and of course, that Bruce Campbell has a very well hidden cameo.
Pizza Papa always gets paid.
Less hidden is this use of elevator cables in place of vines, which to me suggests we'll get a few creative spins on some classic situations. But whether or not this mix of original vision and fanboy director will go hand in hand, well, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't fucking know. Probably be good. I don't know.
I haven't told Sam this one yet, but I remember being about 13, buying my first camcorder and getting a piece of wood in my garden and attaching strings onto it to try and do
the rush cam?
4-shot through my garden. I did a really bad job. But thankfully all these years later they gave me money to do it a little bit better. So.
There's also the aspect ratio. Evil Dead 2013 was the first in the series to be shot in 239:1 aspect ratio, and Evil Dead Rise continues the trend with cinematographer Dave Garbett, whatever, behind the camera. He also worked as DP on over a dozen episodes of Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
Looking good. Looking sweet.
Rise also uses the same editor, Brian Shaw, as the 2013 entry. And of course, Sam Raimi picked out Lee himself for the directing role and serves as producer, so I think it's safe to expect another solid entry in the franchise.
It's quite an unusual experience, very fulfilling.
Next up, Demons 2. Okay, slightly less obvious, but nonetheless pretty well documented, is Demons 2, the sequel to, Demons. Both Lamberto Bava joints, both rad as hell, and both with terrible packaging in their Aero 4K release. What the fuck? What is this? What are we doing? What the fuck? Oh my god, now I have to put it back together. Seriously, if you grab this off the shelf, it just comes apart. Like, what the come out. Fuck. I'm gonna fucking sue those red coat. Like Evil Dead Rise, Demons 2 takes place primarily within an apartment building, and that seems to be the only connection, making this more of a historical lead-up rather than a creative one. According to Lee Cronin in an interview with Fangoria, he's never seen Demons 2, at least not before making Evil Dead Rise, which, you know, is too bad. There's a lot to take away from Demons 2, both negative and positive. On the negative side, Demons 2 is far less visually interesting than its predecessor, and a big part of that is the apartment setting. It just doesn't hold a candle to an old movie theater, and similarly, it's hard to imagine an apartment building here holding a candle to a cabin in the woods, no matter which version you choose. That said, in the trailer for Evil Dead Rise, he's really moving around those halls, beautiful set design, like a lot of the Evil Dead cam, which really helps a lot, whereas in Demons 2, there's a lot of like lockdown camera or less movement. Considering the franchise has also utilized a medieval castle, Evil Dead Rise probably features the least cinematic location, giving Lee a slight disadvantage going in, but again, that all that, like that fucking, all that movement, baby, I like it. I like seeing all that movement, you know? You got that money, make that camera move. I don't know what I'm doing with my voice right now. On the positive side, however, the Demons in Demons 2 have some similarities to the Deadites, and so there was a lot of opportunity for a little creative influencing. For example, this early TV screen moment with the doomed Sally, complete with a recycling of the TV effect from Videodrome. It's a very good scene. It's how the demons get into the apartment, which is bonkers, and leads to an equally nonsensical conclusion. It's a very good scene, but could do with a little more style. The flashing lights for me don't quite work as is. You can mix it with the famous Evil Dead mirror scenes to great effect. The possibilities are endless, I'm just saying. And of course, genre fans would appreciate the direct reference to a classic of the demons run amok in an apartment complex genre. Oh, Attack the Block. I just realized Attack the Block would have been a great one for this list. I forgot to add Attack the Block. Attack the Block. And actually, I'd love to see some bladder effects, like with Sally's arm during the birthday cake scene that follows the TV scene. Like, oh man. And then the demon teeth replacing her teeth. Oh, it's gnarly shit, man. And right for a little rip-off action. But who knows? Lee already had inadvertently cribbed the concept for his flick. Maybe he'll inadvertently crib some horrific gore as well. Maybe a deadite dog. Some muscle boys tossing weights at possessed assholes. Anything could happen, people. Just, you know, maybe nothing I mentioned on account of Lee not watching the movie. This waste of time brought to you by Squarespace. Another one I'm pretty sure wasn't an influence, but at least will make a good puzzle piece, is 2008's Farmhouse, starring Steven Weber and directed by George Basuto. There's no reason for you to know that name. I just threw that in. Word count, baby. That film really has no major similarities to Evil Dead Rise, except for sort of a possession angle, and most notably, its use of a cheese grater. Perhaps the most shocking element in those already hella bonkers trailers. Actually, speaking of cheese grater, let's go to an advertisement for my Patreon.
Join the Patreon! Join the Patreon! I'll do it! I'll do it! I'll grate my fucking tits off! Join the Patreon!
Good stuff. One film that, per the same interview that I mentioned way up top, is at very least an influence on Lee's career, and that is Jaws, which, I mean, no shit. If you're a horror filmmaker, you probably were influenced to some degree by that little Steven Spielberg classic. But could we see any direct influence?
Yeah, it's too easy.
Maybe. After all, there is some water action, and the primary threat is a monster that lurks beneath the visible surface, which you could use that if you were writing some shitty grad paper to connect sharks and demons. I know I'm stretching this here. I feel like fucking Goatsy, but we're getting some good stuff.
Jaws.
Okay.
End of story. Number one, always, in all categories.
The Shining. Lee also mentioned that he grew up watching The Shining, which of course is similarly restricted in location to a large multi-room building. Again, this is a stretch, but if you're going to bring up a movie as an early influence in multiple interviews, well, it might just be influencing your film. Notably, The Shining and Jaws both involve the endangerment of children, with a more possession-adjacent angle in The Shining with little Danny Torrance and his ostensibly imaginary friend. Then we can go one step further. In Evil Dead Rise, we have a child being menaced by a parent, a father in The Shining and here a mother.
Things could be better, Lloyd.
So, hey, maybe not such a stretch after all. Just, you know, don't get attached to any caretakers. Oh, and the lady in the tub. Got the lady in the tub in The Shining, and then in Evil Dead Rise.
Mommy's with the maggots now.
Might be something. In the same interview where he talked about his childhood influences, Lee also mentioned his horror short Through the Night, which he describes as his first out-and-out horror, and a huge turning point for him as he built his relationship with his producing partner John Kevill, who is also a producer on Evil Dead Rise, and Lee also describes it as a real motivator for his career. I don't know why I'm doing this. Little Bonnie boo-boo, hopping through the... Fuck. The film also happens to be about, what? Possession. Who's possessed? A lady. Does the possession make random objects do creepy shit? Yeah, it does. And where does it take place? An apartment. It takes place in like one room, but I'm pretty sure it's an apartment. Anyway, the man's been preparing for this moment his entire life, people. This is his moment. And finally, if we're going to talk about Lee's first horror short, we might as well talk about his first horror feature. 2019's The Hole in the Ground is a much more minimalist and, if we're being honest, more generic film than Evil Dead Rise appears to be. In fact, as one Letterboxd reviewer noted, that's pretty much its only serious issue, is that it is just like 1,000 other movies. However, it also features a child as one of the main characters, in this case, a child who may be an evil doppelganger of our lead son, suggesting that Lee just has a penchant for including kiddos in his horror films, something that notably is a first for the Evil Dead films, and is another connection to Demons 2. And doppelgangers, man, that's one step removed from demonic possession. And add to that, an underlying theme in the film is mental illness, which, based purely on marketing, looks to be a theme in Evil Dead Rise. Hole in the Ground's composer, Stephen McKeon, is also the composer on Rise. It's a good score, so awesome. The Hole in the Ground is also what got Lee the job. After seeing it at Sundance in 2019, Sam Raimi decided he wanted to meet with the director, but Lee was the one to bring up and pitch an Evil Dead flick, to which Sam obviously reacted well on account of the whole fully funded movie thing.
Evil Dead Rise. Tickets on sale now.
Anyway, that's my list going in. I'd say I have at least 2 good puzzle pieces in there, and I'm excited to see the film and come up with a lot more. If you can't make it to Vegas in like a couple days, pussy, be sure to check it out. Piecing It Together. It's available on whatever podcast feed platform you use, I assume. I mean, Dave is pretty smart. He has to be doing basic shit, right? Right, Dave? You watching this, Dave? I'm promoting your podcast right now, motherfucker. Oh, also, he has an episode on The Head where it was a live show with myself as a guest. So you can also check that out. I've been on a couple. I was on the Cocaine Bear episode, and I feel like I was on another one, but I don't remember which one. I'm yammering at this point. Go watch a movie.
Nothing a big old kiss from you won't fix.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Bitches leave.
Beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, where we'll be discussing the latest display of Deadite decadence, Evil Dead Rise. The film that dares to ask the question... I don't have my TV on. Forgot to turn the DVD logo on, because it makes it look better. Because it's not just a giant black screen, it's a giant black screen with a DVD logo on it, bouncing back and forth, reminding all the old timers of the yesteryears. Oh, we're recording, baby, recording something fierce. YouTube. Oh my god, I don't need a whole fucking song and dance. Good lord. I really should have this in like a playlist or something. There you are. Okay. Does nothing, basically. Hey guys, in a few days I'm gonna be